But it's really a delight to be here, and really I have a fondness for Dr. Rye and really what he's doing here at UT Austin. So it was really my pleasure and honor to find a way to be here today. I am going to talk a bit about, first of all, the discussion can go wherever you want it to go. I'm kind of delighted that the room is a lot smaller than I imagined, so this is very intimate. So if there are questions that come up that are burning or even not burning, I don't mind at all if you interrupt me and I speak to them, because this is really more of a discussion and probably less of a sort of a formal speech. But I'll start with the premise that, as Dr. Rye said, this industry is changing a whole lot. And generally for executives, utility executives, it's almost a binary choice. And I'm probably oversimplifying a little bit. It's a binary choice. You can either say, we're going to fight it, we're going to bury our head in the sand, and we're going to go out and hire a bunch of lobbyists to try to fight everything. Or you can say, let's figure out how it works, and let's figure out how we can make it a value or to even monetize it in some cases, and then let's hold hands with the people that are disrupting the industry in a good way and figure out how collectively we can bring better opportunities for commerce, economic development, choice and education for our customers, and also continue to spur innovation. So not a criticism of those who choose the other path, but we've chosen the latter path, and that's part of what I want to talk with you about today. I'm going to talk sort of a bit about what I think are some things that are going on internationally that are going to trickle their way across the continents to, I think, spur innovation even more so in the United States. And then I'll talk broadly about some generation innovations out there, and I'll talk a bit about sort of behind the meter demand side innovations. And then I'll talk about what CPS Energy is doing specifically, which I think is very, very neat. But first of all, lots of flux in the world, as you might imagine. A lot of it, maybe some might say the fulcrum of it is the amount and the low price of natural gas. Its tentacles are going everywhere in some ways that I think are very, very advantageous to us. In some ways, in some areas, some might say are not as advantageous. But it is what it is. We have incredible supplies of natural gas. We have the technology in the United States to make it very easy to access and extract. And so that's changed everything. So in the short term, it's driven down the price of energy, of course, which is in some ways hurt the cause of renewables, because now as you model your investment in renewables or even innovative technologies, you're generally comparing it in some way, either directly or indirectly, to the price of gas. And so the lower that goes, the more it makes your modeling look out of the money for these other technologies and innovations. So in the short term, that's been somewhat of an issue. However, you've got issues in Asia now, in Japan switching to less nuclear. You've got Germany committing to 2022 get rid of all of its nuclear. And recently, out of nowhere, you've got Eastern Europe that's got an issue now. And you have the West and some of the NATO alliance encouraging some of the Eastern European countries to wean yourself off of Russian-supplied natural gas so as not to be held hostage to some of the political events that might occur. Well, I think part of what that means is there's a chance that could tick up the price of natural gas or the demand in these parts of the world. At the same time, we've got in the United States LNG ports being approved by the State Department. First was, or I think Department of Energy, pardon me. Sabine Pass with Cheniere Energy, and it's probably going to happen more. So if the natural gas, of course, is exported, higher prices will occur here, which some industries would say that's a bad thing because they use them for heating, for industrial processes, and even energy. And now you have a lot of large industrial companies and consortiums that are now beginning to build and invest in the United States because energy is so cheap, where in the past they might have been doing that somewhere else around the world. But as prices tick up here, maybe some might say the good news is it now increases the value of renewables and some of the other technologies that are right on the edge now that we'll probably need to move forward, especially if you start with the premise that there needs to be less carbon in the air, and that's a cause of climate change. So all these things are really related and sort of swirling around in the background that at a moment's notice could change the dynamic plus or minus. But I think even if you discounted all that, the inertia behind the movement towards lower carbon alternatives, more renewables, more customer choice, more sort of unveiling of the information and giving customers data to make choices, demand response, conservation, you name it, that is, I think, something that will not be stopped. And I think it makes sense for utilities especially, at least in my mind, to embrace it. Now, it's very difficult. We have somewhat of an advantage. We're vertically integrated, so you've got more levels to extract the value of this kind of change, and I can maybe even go through an example of that. So it's not going to be easy. And it's also very difficult to kind of monetize this, and I'll talk about some of the things that we're thinking about, because when you step back, some would say, why would you incentivize customers to use less of your product? I mean, that's a sort of a cul-de-sac to insolvency. But you've got to figure out a way, because it's going to happen, and you have a lot of disruptive entities, and not even some of the obvious ones. The obvious ones would be sort of the ADTs of the world, the Nest thermostats, but you've got, right on the heels of them, I think the Apples, the Googles, all these folks have a port into the homes of customers, and they can do a whole lot of things besides just gaming or software. So all that's happening, not going to be stopped, and I think for our country, and perhaps even, I don't want to overblow this, but Western civilization, it's probably not a bad thing. It is going to occur, and at some point we'll get that sweet spot with natural gas or whatever becomes the fuel or technology of choice. It could be battery storage soon, but it'll begin to equalize, and change is here to stay. And then you've got demographics working in the favor too. You've got a lot of students here. This is what they're going to ask for in the future, and they might be willing to pay more for it. In addition to that, you've got a lot of concerns around hardening of facilities now after Hurricane Sandy. Many of you probably heard about the Metcalf substation in Silicon Valley that was attacked by rifle fire, the transformers. So you got all this stuff swirling too, which is going to cause more investment in infrastructure. And I think it's a good convergence to, while you're investing in hardening infrastructure, you might as well add a piece that allows for cybersecurity, but also allows for the types of innovations that I'll talk about soon that will sort of continue us on this path that we're on. So in my view, in summary, this movement, this inertia, this force is here to stay, and we're choosing to embrace it.